everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Hook, Line, and Shifter, brought to you by yours truly, Bob McCarty. Let me start off this by saying something pretty good, pretty bad. I don't know. You think of it whatever you want, but crashing sucks. Crashing sucks. I've used the term before that I've been 30 years deep into this. I've been 30 years deep into this sport, and crashing at 52 now, crashing at 22, 32, 42, and 52. Crashing at 52 probably isn't a whole lot of fun, but I digress. We're going to come back to this. Topic. So again, thanks for watching. I'm your host, Bob McCarty, Hook, Line, and Shifter. Hopefully this is going to be a regular thing. Not hopefully, it's going to be. I'm going to make this a regular thing. I'm going to try and drop it every Tuesday for you. And if you like it, click the subscribe button. So what exactly is this channel, or what exactly is Hook, Line, and Shifter going to be about? I'm going to continue to post videos of local parks, techniques, things like that. But I'm also going to talk a lot about racing, a lot about my experiences, and some of the common things or some of the common questions that actually come up when I'm out there racing. In addition to racing, I'm also a coach. So I have the opportunity to see a lot of different things, answer a lot of questions. So I'm going to try not to get deep into the weeds with a lot of stuff, but trying to keep things as simple as I possibly can. So a little bit about who I am. Started racing in 1995, grew up in New Jersey, started mountain biking in 1984. Why did I start mountain biking in 1984? 1984, let me backtrack. Mountain biking started on the West Coast, California, in 1979. And as it grew in popularity and others, companies started to jump on, it made it over to the East Coast. I got to the East Coast in 1984. I was working at my local bike shop and racing BMX at the time. Bike Box came into the shop, and my boss at the time said, "Hey, build this bike for us." I open up the box and I go, "What the hell is this thing?" He goes, "It's a mountain bike." And I go, "What the hell is a mountain bike?" To me, back in the day, I had a Nishiki Colorado. For you old school people that might be familiar with that, Nishiki Colorado was pretty much a road bike frame, beefed up just a little bit, full rigid aluminum wheels, 26 inch aluminum wheels. I don't even know, maybe 18 gears, 24 gears. I think maybe we had 7 or 8 in the rear, 3 in the front. So 21, 24 gears. I'm not really sure. Thumb shifters up on top of the handlebars. Indexing. That's what we called shifting back in the day. This didn't have indexing. It was actually a little dial that you had to roll to try and find the perfect gear. No suspension technology, not in the slightest. Cable rim brakes. This thing was the ticket. So, anyways, fast forward. Graduated college in New Jersey. Moved to Tallahassee, Florida, and started really getting into this thing called mountain biking. Did my first race in 1995, thought it absolutely sucked, threw up, wanted to quit, said I'm done. I want nothing to do with this sport. Started to feel pretty good about the potential that I might have had, and never looked back from then. So well over 500 races right now in my career, and still going strong. So hopefully I'll have something to offer in my experience in the decades of racing. What am I currently on? I'm currently on a Scott Spark. I have a 22 as my practice bike, and then a 23 as my race bike. Fortunate enough to have 2 bikes. The difference in the two, virtually nothing. Some of the components are a little bit better on my race Scott and on my race bike, other than the fact that it's fully functional and ready to go every weekend. I'm training about 20-25 hours a week, and my practice bike gets all the beating. Race bike doesn't get that until the weekend. So in this, I'm hoping to interview people, share their knowledge, share their professionalism, and again, help elevate the sport of mountain biking. So again, I hope you like it. If you do, click the subscribe button down on the bottom, and I'll keep making these things. So I started the video today and said, injuries suck. Getting hurt sucks. Well, about 8 weeks ago, I had a pretty significant crash. Training crash here at my local park, Markham Park. Do a workout every Monday night with a bunch of friends. It was about a 75-minute workout. And sure enough, you'll see in the pictures, clipped my foot on a paver, and OTB, yep, went flying over the bars pretty significantly. What happened is busted both of my thumbs, my right wrist, and separated my shoulder. Pretty much one of the worst crashes as far as how I felt. Would I have done anything differently? Absolutely not. It just happened to be that my foot position was transitioning at the worst time. If I get back into the park, or when I get back into the park, I would probably do the exact same thing again. I'm probably going to be a little bit more conscious of where my foot is in this particular location, but half a second earlier, half a second later, everything would have been perfectly fine. So where am I going? Where am I going with this? Let's backtrack again. In October of last year, we had Marathon Nationals, 2023 Marathon Nationals in Auburn, Alabama. And unfortunately, I wound up crashing out of that. I clipped my left hand onto a tree. Had a pretty comfortable lead over two of my main competitors, Brian Schwarman, Greg Galetta. Had a pretty good gap on them going into the second lap. About 25% into the second lap, wasn't paying attention, wound up taking a line that I wasn't completely comfortable with, and dropped into a little bit of like a G out ravine. Clipped my left hand on a handlebar, sent me to the right side off, slammed my back onto a piece of granite, and broke 9 ribs. It happens. This is the reality of mountain biking. So DNF that race. I was in a lot of pain. I tried to finish. I couldn't do anything. So wound up DNFing that. All right. So where are we at now? 2024 Marathon Nationals got back onto the routine of the right schedule. The right schedule, when I say the right schedule, meaning in June or May and June is generally when we have Marathon Nationals. July and August is when we have XC Nationals. The schedule kind of got flipped back in the onset of COVID when they were trying to find parks availability to get us racing. So schedule went back to normal. So even though it was only October 8 months ago, we had Marathon Nationals this weekend again back in Auburn. Why back in Auburn? Generally, the way the schedule works is we do both. We do two back-to-back years in the exact same location: East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, and then West Coast. Mid-Atlantic is questionable and West Coast is questionable, but the schedule tends to flip from each side of the country. So this year was our final stop at East Coast up in Auburn. Where is it going to be next year? We don't necessarily know. So let's get into the exciting part about the race. So crashed out of it 8 months ago, came back wanting to redeem myself, fully focused on the event, and sure enough, 8 weeks ago, OTBs, grade 4 separated shoulder, wrist, thumbs, like I said, completely devastated. Came home that night, was talking to my wife. She said, should we cancel the plans, cancel the reservation, everything for the hotel for Marathon National? I said, absolutely, we have to cancel. I can't lift my arm. I can't move my hands. I don't even know how we're going to be able to get through any of this. Pretty devastating for me as far as emotionally in my career. About 2 weeks, 4 or 5 days later, I was actually on my trainer pedal, and I couldn't really do a whole lot, just trying to keep the legs moving. About 7 or 8 days later, I actually got back on the levee. We have a levee system down here in South Florida. Got back riding that, and then 2 weeks after that, back inside the trail, and I started to feel halfway. I started to feel halfway decent. Not great. Don't get me wrong. Not great. I deal with a lot of pain, as much as many cyclists do, mountain bikers. Didn't feel great, but I felt okay. Another week went by, and I'm like, okay, I'm actually feeling good. Oh, and in the meantime, I had a consultation with a surgeon because I thought I had to get my shoulder repaired. Come to find out, you generally can live with up to about a grade 4 separation in your shoulder. Separation in your shoulder simply means my collarbone is separated from my shoulder the way I hit the ground. You'll see a photo of that also. So once about 3-4 weeks went by, got through my consultation, I then was talking to my wife and said, I think we're going racing. I think I can do this. So I had a lot to prove to myself and try and redeem to get out there and do what I missed out on last year. So, all right. So here we go. 3 days ago, Saturday, we were back in Auburn racing Marathon Nationals again. They bumped the time down a little bit earlier because it was supposed to be 98 degrees, hottest day of the year in Auburn. So we had a 9:16 start time, at least for my class, bumped it down to 8:16. So what was Marathon Nationals? Marathon Nationals is in this case, a 2-lap race, 2 laps of a 19.9 miles, so roughly 39 miles, and according to my Garmin, about 1,500 feet of climbing, 3,000 total feet over the course of the race. Not necessarily a whole lot of elevation gain, but enough for us to be pushed. Course very, very friendly that's not the proper word, not very friendly. Really good for Florida riders. Tight, technical, twisty, rocky, rooty, no climbs that were sustained, short, punchy ones, pretty much the stuff that we get to race down here all the time. And not to mention that training, I'm based out of South Florida, training down here, usual day is 92, 93, 94, 95 degrees. So it definitely suited my abilities. I do have to race with a shoulder brace on. Trying to keep my shoulder in place makes me feel a little bit better during the event. So, all right. So now let's get into the race. Took off because I didn't do so well last year. I actually had a third row call up. So 3 rows back. The start this year, very, very short, maybe 50 yards, and then directly into single track, where last year we actually had a chance to run up some long asphalt road to thin the pack out. So fortunately for me, I was able to get a pretty good hole shot, went to the trails in 4th. Passed one person, went into third from there. My main competitor, Greg, again, he was out there in full effect, ready to go. Unfortunately, for some reason, Brian was not here this year, but Greg was there. Got the whole shot, put me in, moved my way to third. The trail ended, went out to some single track. The single track ended, went out to some asphalt road. On the asphalt road, I was able to move from third into first. Past Greg. Greg was second wheel. Stayed in the single track for quite a while again. The course essentially was separated into 2. We had an east side and a west side. Heading over to the west side, I thought I had a pretty good gap. At this point, we started to catch up to some lappers. Lappers, meaning the classes in front of us. Everybody was let off in 2-minute waves, and was able to catch some of the groups in front of us. So as I started to pass this group, the person or one of the people in front of me, I chose to run a little bit of a left line. So I went around this person, wound up picking up a stick. So picked up a stick, went through the derailleur into the cassette and on the back side of the cassette. So I stopped, pulled the what I thought was getting the stick out of the derailleur. and I also thought getting the stick out of the cassette. Got back on the. At this point, I'm leaning over, working on the bike, and people are passing me. I really don't necessarily know who was passing me because I was focused in on trying to get the bike functioning again. Got the stick out of the derailleur, pedaled for about 20 feet. Apparently, I didn't get everything out of the derailleur. Stopped again, looked over the side of the bike, ripped some stuff out of it. Got back on the bike and started pedaling. As I'm pedaling, man, this bike just was not going. This bike was not going anywhere. So here's a little bit of a description as far as what happened. Derailleur. This is an old SRAM electronic derailleur. So we have the lower pulley. This is the lower pulley of the bike. So this is the side that you would actually be looking at. So what happened was this stick, there is some wear marks. There's some wear marks inside the stick. This stick wound up getting wedged behind the entire pulley, behind the derailleur. You can't really see exactly where it's at, and then that was the idea. So what did this stick do is it was wedged perfectly in the derailleur, the lower derailleur cage, to wedge the pulley in place, so the pulley didn't spin. I'm sorry, it did spin, but it had a lot of resistance behind it. So what does that mean? Adversity, determination. I am not a give up person. What I'm going to have to deal with is a lot more crank pressure than what I'm actually used to, as well as when you try to freewheel, there's some resistance behind the cranks, so you can't. Your foot position is a little bit tentative at that point, or a little bit stressed in trying to keep the cranks level. All right. So what do we do? What do we do from there? Get back on the bike, start pedaling. Oh, while I was pulling this stick out of the derailleur, again, people are passing by. I have no idea who was passing by. Get back on the bike and I start pedaling. Once I'm pedaling along, the resistance is there, but it's okay. I can manage it. So all these people that passed me when I was leaning over the bike trying to do the repair, I wound up passing all of them again, and then passing some other people. So occasionally throughout the race, I heard somebody say to me, said, Bob, Greg's right up there. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, I don't remember getting past. Maybe they're mistaking his jersey for somebody else's. So I keep pushing, keep doing my thing. Finish the first lap, head into the second lap. Again, it's only a 2-lap mountain bike race. We go into the second lap, and climbing all the way to the top, I then catch up to one of my friends that happened to start 2 minutes in front of me. I catch up to him and asked me if I want to get around. I couldn't get around. Part of the reason was I was exhausted. He actually knew that Greg was in front, and was completely baffled by the fact that I didn't want to get around and go chase Greg down. So part of the reason was, again, I had no idea that Greg was one of the guys that passed me. So all right, we get done with the east side. Now we're heading back over to the west side. I'm on the west side of the course, and doing my thing, trying to push. Heat is really setting in. Pre-cramping, or my left hamstring kind of letting me know, hey, you might want to try to do something a little bit more. Give me some electrolytes, drink a little bit more. I don't know, but we need something. So what I do, I respond to it. Up my electrolytes, a little bit more water, take more fluid in, and was able to save that pre-cramping sensation. Nevertheless, definitely highs and lows in the emotion of everything. All right, so now we're on the west side of the course, doing my thing, passing people. Next thing you know, I catch up to another one of my friends, and it just so happens that him and in front of him is Greg. I still did not know this. So catch up, call out the line, pass him, continue on, pass him and the guy in front of him, which just happened to be the fact that it was Greg. Pass him, move past him, and then just try to go as hard as I can to the finish. So cross the finish line, And the announcer didn't say anything. Normally they say, and the new national champion, blah, blah, blah. Didn't say anything this time. So across the finish line, my wife said, congratulations, you won. And I said, are you sure? She's like, yeah. She goes, did you catch Greg? And I go, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what's behind him. So while I'm standing there talking to her, Greg actually crossed the finish line, congratulated me, and got my redemption from October of last year, where I crashed out with 9 rims, and then my redemption from this time of having busted wrist, thumbs, and separated shoulder. So that's it. That's what happened. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to continue to try and make these, come up with some different topics every week. This is the first one. This is the first hook, line, and shifter. This will hopefully evolve into a podcast. So again, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all my fans, friends, and family. Couldn't do any of this without the support of my wife. So thanks for watching Hook, Line, and Shifter.